Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk Radio. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Shawn DeWeird.
And I'm Justin Lemmy.
And
Happy 2025.
This is the first show for the new year, right?
I think so.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it is. We had to run a couple of best ofs. We had so much stuff going on. It's been crazy. Justin, you've been doing all kinds of fun stuff. And Shawn, you as well.
Football's finally over.
Yeah. Are you happy? Now, do you like, what's your favorite sport at Notre Dame that you kind of do?
So hockey.
Hockey?
I've been the primary lead on hockey since 2019.
Right.
So I actually gave it up a little bit this year because of being down an engineer. I had to do a little bit more of a basketball role this year. But hockey is my favorite sport to watch in general. So getting to do Notre Dame hockey and being an avid college hockey fan, right? So the school I went to, Ferris State in northern Michigan, has a Division I hockey team.
Right.
Because hockey, there's not many schools that have hockey in the college world. So they played in the CCHA when I was there. So we played Michigan State, Michigan, Notre Dame, Bowling Green. We played all the big name hockey teams. So college hockey is kind of gets me excited.
Yeah.
So the chance to, when I first started at Notre Dame, I got to be in the venue. I got to do the broadcast from the venue side, and now I'm in charge of it. And, it went from being on NBC Sportsnet to Peacock, and, so it's just kind of a cool progression for me, and it's something that I'm proud of, and I like hockey, so.
It's got to be a blast.
That's really cool
To do.
Yeah.
The other thing, we wanted to touch on this. You actually are part of a new podcast, and I think this is super cool too, because I did an event last week, and people walking around the event would come up and they would talk to me, and then, it was amazing, Shawn, how many people want to do a podcast now, and how many people want to record. One guy was talking about doing something on his favorite foods. Another said, places he's traveled to. Another woman said she wanted to do, advice tips, and thought maybe I could have a podcast and do it. But all of them said, "Oh, but I know it's super hard to do."
So yes, it is. They are difficult to do, right? It's the number one reason it's hard to do is content.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to create content. It's what podcasts are, content. Somebody has to come up with the idea. You have to have a producer. Somebody has to do the technology. Somebody has to do the publishing, right? So there's a lot of work. I will say, the athletics department at the university, the football team started a podcast called Wake Up the Echoes. It was started 2 years ago, I believe just over 2 years ago now. That took off like crazy. That format took off like crazy. Then some other people wanted to come in and do a podcast because they saw that. Then another department wanted to do a podcast. I think we're producing out of our space 7 podcasts a week right now.
Oh, wow.
using our podcast studio, because we have a studio that's built just for video podcasting, and then we have a VO booth, which is where I recorded the Behind the Screens IT at ND podcast, which is because I'm part of the Office of Information Technology. Notre Dame Studios is under that umbrella. They invited me on to talk about just kind of what I do in terms of supporting the university and the video and the live streaming and that kind of stuff. So I will link it to our blog, but take a listen to it. It's pretty cool. It just talks about just my experience at the university over the years and kind of like what the technology looks like on campus and things like that. This is also for those of you who aren't part of the university or know about Notre Dame. There was a large fire on campus right after the playoff football game on the 20th of December that destroyed some of our fiber and network infrastructure. So this last two weeks since Christmas, since the beginning of the new year, we've been working with networking and the fiber team to get reconnected and get our infrastructure back on campus to support all of our events. So work has been very busy for me, while also supporting ESPN events, NBC events, and all the other academia events that we do. So,
man. But, the thing is, too, we were talking about the podcast, say, versus radio. This is, a radio broadcast that we do make available as a podcast. And, I mean, we're one of those that have been around a long time. Since 1996, we were doing that before podcasts were podcasts. They didn't become a podcast until what 2004 is what they were officially calling that. But we always had the show available. The guidelines, though, for us are still a little more stringent because number one, FCC rules, so we do that. Number two, timing. We have to fit into a radio station's timing, and a radio station obviously has its commercials, just like they do here. We've been on other stations across the country as well. Same thing. We tell, okay, here you can go to a commercial break here, you go to here, so it has to fit. With a podcast, you don't really have to worry about that, do you? I mean, do you ever just like you open the mic and just go?
Well, you do because you don't want to bore your listeners out of their skulls, right?
True,
Like
yeah.
I said this earlier before, it's content, right? You have to have interesting content that people want to stick around and listen to. It's engaging content too. I mean, that's what it is, and that's not an easy thing to do. Like, because there's with the way the internet is and how worldwide it is, it's so saturated with people that know a lot about the specific things you're going to talk about. So it's very, very, very competitive.
I will
Yeah.
tell people if they are thinking about it, and I don't know where you direct people to, because some people will say, well, where do I put it? Where do I store it? Spreaker, which is it's owned by iHeartMedia, but Spreaker is available. We're on Spreaker, and how that works is you get a free account, absolutely free. You go in there as long as it's one podcast you're doing, not just one episode, but one theme, one name. You could do that and work the Spreaker podcast to get your stats, get your shows posted, all of that. And they make that available for free. And you'll learn the importance of SEO and writing up what did you guys talk about or what did you girls talk about when you were doing your podcast. If you're looking for a start, they even have tools that may be available for your smartphone. So some people don't have a microphone like you, Shawn, or you, Justin, or like we have here in the studio. You could record it on your phone. Some people are doing that. But again, I think you're right, Shawn, content. And you do have to plan that. You can't just go off and just start talking. I mean, unless you're really good,
I mean, you can. I mean, nobody's going to listen. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like what they say. It's like everybody and their brother has a podcast, but only the strong survive, I guess you could say.
If you were going to do one, Justin, like a podcast, where would you go? Music, because I know you love music. Life in the Navy, after the Navy. What would be like something maybe you would think about doing?
I think I would probably be talking about video games. I think I just discussing current video games. Because I'm always bouncing around from game to game, and games don't really hold my attention for a long period of time. So I'm always trying new things. So something that would be like, hey, what am I playing this week? Or, what's this new game that came out or whatever. I think that would probably be a good podcast that I would do.
We've had some people on the show like Raya Stream, Stone Mountain 64, and some of the
Darkness 429.
Yeah, Darkness 429, great stuff. They've been really good, but they do something a little different. Yes, they do podcasting, but they are live video casters. Are there more of a market now for live video than there is the recorded podcast?
Absolutely. Yeah, people want to be visually entertained as well as audibly entertained too. I mean, podcasts, you can listen on the go when you're walking or when you're working or in your car, but people really, this is that day and age of short form. People, they just doom scroll. They just want, 2 minutes here, 5 minutes there. They don't want to have an entire hour or more that they have to listen to. I mean, honestly, what's his name? The guy with the number one, Joe Rogan. I mean, I know his podcast is absolutely just the number one podcast in the world. I just can't get into it because I don't like to. I mean, my ADHD, I can't sit there and listen for a whole hour of a topic. Like, I want short form content. So to have something like what we have right here, putting it on social media, I don't know what's going to go happen with TikTok or whatever, but putting clips of interesting topics that we might be talking about, putting that up on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, X, or even Facebook, really. That's kind of what people want to see.
Yeah, and that's grown a lot. And I've seen we use Opus. I'll tell people we use Opus Clip for that, and we pay a monthly. and we can throw stuff up, and it will create a clip based on what it feels could go viral. But it's also brought people back to listen to the actual podcast itself, to actually subscribe. Our subscriber count's going up. There's been interest in it. So if we're talking about something that maybe makes them go, "Oh wow, Justin's talking about games. I like this," or Shawn's talking about recording sports, and he's talking about hooking up a satellite dish on a roof in the snow. Sorry, Shawn.
I've done it.
Exactly.
You know what? I'm gonna find a great clip. So back when I worked at Fox, I strapped a GoPro to my head. Well, used the GoPro strap for my head.
Yeah.
And actually recorded myself one night after a huge snowstorm, scraping off all of the satellite dishes that were at Fox.
No.
I had to go out because once they get covered in snow, they don't receive or transmit anymore.
Oh, you're kidding! I didn't know that.
So it can't get through the snow.
Wow.
So I'll find that clip and share it so we can put it on the blog.
That's funny.
We got to see that and tie it to the. Do you know who that guy is there? Who's that guy lying on the floor? Remember your famous?
Oh yeah.
Video.
I didn't make this kid drink. The Mecosta. Google Mecosta County Rave 2016. There's a viral clip that I shot when I was working at Fox that was
Dude,
on
it made
Kimmel.
on Jimmy Kimmel and all that stuff.
It made Jimmy Kimmel's top 5 news clips of the year.
That was awesome. That was really good. All right, you mentioned it, Justin. You said it, and we can't be a tech show and not talk about it. TikTok, and I know we all have different views on social media. Let's face it, Shawn, you have a very limited, I guess, footprint on
Presence,
social media.
yeah.
Reddit and Snapchat are the only 2 that I actively use.
I found myself using Reddit a little more because of you guys talking about it so much. And then when I need to look up something, I go, "Oh wow, look at that! I found good advice, products not to buy, even or products to get." But
I think with social media though, it's just like you're gonna get what your deepest, darkest, unknown desires want to give you. I mean,
wow.
there's
sound like a late night movie on Cinemax.
Well, I mean, think about it. People sit there and tell me, they're like, "Well, I don't use blah blah platform because it's just full of stuff that I don't agree with, whether it be politically or just in general,
Adult, like Snap,
or anything really." And it's just like, okay, well, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree. Like, I'll give you an example. I tell people I use X a lot more often now than I ever did before. And people are like, "Wow, I can't believe you would use that. It's so horrible. It's so horrible." And it's not. I mean, it's the content that you have engaged with. Is the algorithm's going to keep serving you that content because it wants you to stay on the platform. So if you find stuff that you don't agree with, whether it be politically or whatever, and you sit there and doom scroll through it, or you click through it and you're looking at comments and stuff, the platform's going to think that you want to see more of that content. You can curate your social media to what you want it to be. For instance, X, I don't get any of that stuff. I mean, occasionally I'll get something I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to see that, and I just scroll by it, or if it's really bad, I'll just say block or whatever. But honestly, my X feed is full of technology. It's full of crypto. It's full of local news,
games,
video games, stuff like that. So I don't really see all the stuff that maybe somebody else might pull up X and say, "Look, it's all it is talking about, Trump or whatever, might be." I don't see all that stuff because I curate it. Same thing goes for Reddit. Reddit, I use Reddit every single day. But Reddit for me is starting to get to the point where it's just an echo chamber of like-minded individuals that I may not agree with, and I just constantly see that same content over and over. But again, you can curate it, and I try to stay away from the main subs and subreddits. I try to, stay in my little zone of technology, video games, golf, disc golf, whatever, and I just visit those communities. But social media, it can be good for certain things, but it can also be really bad if you're not really sure what you're doing.
I know people like Shawn, you did this. I mean, that said, that's it. I'm pulling back. I'm not going to be on this platform anymore. And they have said that their quality of life is actually a little bit better.
Oh, absolutely.
So if I look back, I'd have to look to, I don't even remember what my last post was, but I believe it was late winter of 2019 or early spring of 2020. That was the last time I posted
Okay.
anything on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it was weird at first, right? Because if you don't have it on your phone, or your muscle memory is used to, you scroll open your phone, you hit Facebook, you scroll open your phone, you hit Reddit, whatever. I was noticing that as soon as I'd pick up my phone, I'd try and I don't,
Yeah.
where'd Facebook go? So there were things that I just found were little nuances that were like, oh, that was just muscle memory. That was just me feeling that addiction of, I needed to view that, I needed to see that.
It's like
And
walking into the kitchen and opening the fridge when you
right,
just did it like 30 seconds ago,
right.
right?
The contents didn't change, but you were expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And it took a little while, but I did notice that things just seemed to slow down a little bit, right? I was able to take in more at home with Caitlin. I was able to do more meaningful things at home with the time that I would have been scrolling on Facebook or whatever. Now, some other things have replaced that, so I'm still not completely gone from that feeling. But I was getting projects completed that I wanted to get done at home. There were things that, and it felt like they had more meaning to them. It was just this weird disconnect from technology back to a physical. I was reading books, I was reading magazines. I was doing more, not on my phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's options now too. And I have found recently, and I'm not going to be one of those say I'm leaving Facebook. I have found that I don't know if it's an algorithm, but other people have said the same thing. As you're scrolling, it's more ads. It's
Oh
gotten
yeah.
pretty, it's gotten pretty ridiculous. Where it's you get an ad, then you get, hey, you might want to follow them. You have to remember that that person is paying for that. Like if we wanted to, we could say, Facebook, I want you to show everybody in this zip code that's within this age group our page so they can like it. And that's what everybody's doing. And so you're being just inundated now with some of that, and you may not want to see it. You may have no desire to see it. The other thing is you see a video under Reels, and you may think, oh, that looks cool. Click on it. You click on it, then you're going to be fed the same type of content or this from the same creator as well, even if you're not following them. So you have to kind of remember that. And their algorithm has gotten really bad. Snapchat, I love Snapchat when I'm conversing with friends, but it's gotten to the point where Snapchat now is a lot of people that are on OnlyFans, that want to connect and want to either get information from you. They want to sell you something that they're selling, if you know what I mean. And you just got to block. Don't be afraid to block. You're not going to hurt anybody's feeling.
Yeah.
And because if you just let them fill your feed, then they will then know some of the stuff you're posting as well. So yeah, you don't want to do that. But some stuff to think about.
But going back to your original post
Yeah.
about TikTok,
TikTok.
TikTok, the half of the country or whatever believes that TikTok is getting banned because the Chinese government is collecting sensitive data on all the
ByteDance.
users. Yeah, ByteDance. They're collecting sensitive data, and it's a national security thing. The other half of the country believes that they're doing it because the tech billionaires are colluding with the president to create, one particular social media that everybody's going to use, and that so I
Yeah.
just don't, I don't know what to believe, but, TikTok, I never really use TikTok all that much, so I really could care less whatever happens to it, to be honest. I never really
I
use Snapchat all that much. I don't even
I,
hardly use Facebook anymore.
I used TikTok for a little while,
Yeah.
and I thought it was great at first, right? I was able to curate it a little bit. Like most of it was like monster trucks and dirt biking and outdoorsy stuff, which I like. But then I could tell it slowly curated to my age group, my gender, some of my other ideologies and things that I follow on other social medias. And it was interesting because Caitlin and I compared our TikToks at one point when she still had it. And it
Yeah.
was like, Caitlin was like, oh, I'm getting all this classical FM and music and theater and arts and stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm getting women, trucks, and Donald Trump.
'Cause you're a dude.
That's
So
all
there
I
you
was
go.
getting.
That's why. Yep.
I was getting
And
weird TikTok dances.
and so I just was like, this is not. I mean, it just was a little too much, and I could tell that I was definitely on it a lot. And there were
Yeah.
some of the there were some creators that I really enjoyed watching and getting updates from and stuff. But I was just like, it was eating away at me. Like I'm spending way too much time scrolling on this, and it just I didn't care for the way it just was automatically just pushing this type of content into my face. So I
It's
got rid of it.
it's really interesting, Sean, too, and Justin. We've taken our content that we've created, right, and we put it on TikTok. And the numbers were always higher on TikTok until recently. We started to see that number growing on Instagram on the Reels portion of that. So I think it's, as you do that, maybe it'll get better. But I had always wondered, like, why are the numbers so high on TikTok versus Reels? I mean, you should be happy for them, but they weren't necessarily coming from, all my friends. I don't have a huge friends list on there. So yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I don't know. Carrie Moten, who I worked with when I was in another station in town, she wrote something, and she was so glad that TikTok was going away when it disappeared. She wrote this long, I mean, I want to say 8 paragraph thing about the data that they're taking, and ByteDance is giving it that have nothing holding them back, and they're giving it to the government. And we might think, why do they care about what I'm doing? But if as a collective, though, that could be damaging. And I read it and I thought, man, I really liked what she wrote. And there's some sense to it. And then wouldn't you know, the next day, everybody woke up and TikTok was back.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it a PR thing? Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was funny how many people were going, can we use our VPN? Can we use our VPN? No, because these servers were based in the United States that held
Yeah.
the US data. It's the data then was moving, across the country, across the world. So yeah, that's one thing. So I don't know. Will it survive? They got 90 days, according to what the new administration is saying, to come up with some kind of a plan.
I thought it was 75 days.
Was
Or
it 75? I thought
think
it
it
was
was
90.
75.
Maybe. Yeah. But
yeah. Well, anyway.
Not enough for it to go away forever, unfortunately. I don't think. But
Yeah. No, I think it's just going to be that they're going to try to get it to be Elon Musk is going to buy it, or there's even talk of what's his name, Mr. Beast.
yeah.
Jimmy Donaldson.
Really?
Yeah, he was putting in a bid for
I know
it as
Mr.
well.
Wonderful, Kevin Leary from Shark Tank.
Yep,
I
him
think that's his
too.
name, yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen with it, but
But why?
well,
That's the thing. Why?
I mean, it's a money. I mean, it's money just sitting there. People love
Does-
TikTok.
show
He's
me the
doing the-
money. I mean, it's
Yeah.
money. It's so much money. Like people
They
don't
just don't
realize.
want China involved in it. I guess.
People don't realize how much money is involved in harvesting people's data and pushing ads into your faces. They don't get
Oh
it.
yeah, absolutely.
It is a free product, as Matt would say. You are the product
Yeah.
because they are selling you. They're selling your likeness. They're selling your images. They're selling your videos. They're selling your content. China doesn't give a rat's patoot about your content. They will
Mhm.
turn it around and remarket it and sell it in China and in Asia and other parts of the world, and you will never see a dime.
Yep.
Yeah. That is interesting because your content you're putting up there, then somebody else could be using it. So yeah, that really does kind of make you wonder. And I still want to know, what is a patoot? I mean,
There are
No,
we
please
talked
let
about
me-
we talked about it a little while ago. We have to abide by the FCC rules.
Yeah,
So
we
there
can't
are
really say
certain
that
there
on
are
radio.
certain words and phrases we can't say.
Yeah. All right. If you think of social media sites that have gone, that have disappeared, is there one that stands out? I mean, think about it. We had 12 seconds. 12 seconds was short form video that could be 12 seconds or less, if you remember that one. You had MySpace,
Vine,
Which one? Vine.
Oh my gosh,
was
Vine.
great. Yeah.
LiveJournal,
Live
I
that went.
don't remember that one.
DeviantArt.
DeviantArt.
Well, DeviantArt is still around, I
It's
guess.
still around. It's just not nearly as.
Was that
Vine is-
actually a social media? I thought that was just a place to put art.
It kind of blended the lines between art and social media,
Huh.
where people
They-
could put content on there, but then it was easier to put content other places, so a lot of people left.
Hmm.
I thought MySpace was still around
Google
too.
Plus.
Google Plus.
Oh yeah, Google
yeah.
Hangouts or whatever.
Yeah. You had AOL that had them. Yahoo had a play.
Yahoo Chats.
Yep. Yeah.
Bro, AOL Instant Messenger is where it's at.
That was
where it
my
all
child.
began.
That ICQ.
Yep, ICQ.
Oh
Yep,
man, is
AOL chat
ICQ
rooms.
fun?
And,
Is internet relay chat?
oh yeah,
Oh
IRC
well,
is still
IRL,
around.
IRC,
Yeah,
yeah, IRC still around.
yeah,
That's used very heavily on the dark web.
yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
there's a local one to my hometown that we used to telnet into all the time growing up called Lumanet, which was
I remember
Ludding,
Luminet.
yeah, Luminet. We had a server local in Ludington that we would always connect on and chat and post and forums and stuff. So that was my early days of telnetting and learning how to do that kind of stuff. So
I think a lot of us remember BBSs too. You know, you'd find about a good local BBS you could dial into, and that was your connection. Yeah. Did you guys ever use BBSs, or am I just showing my age?
can't say I used BBS, but
No, I mean, I pretty much started right around the time like AOL chat rooms
Yeah.
and ICQ and AOL Instant Messenger and even MSN Messenger, used to
Right.
come default with
hey,
Windows.
I mean, MSN Messenger really kind of revolutionized like the messaging chat platform, right? Because they were the first ones to do video chat calling, which eventually morphed into Skype. Which
Yeah.
Skype, for what it was at the time and still should be, was a very dominant video calling platform.
It was.
They had the lowest latency, the highest quality, and it was free. Now you could pay and you could do international calling and stuff, but Skype, I don't like. Microsoft dropped the ball hard by not pushing Skype a lot harder than whatever they rebranded Teams, whatever it's called, right? Like
Oh yeah.
Skype, they should have rebranded Skype and pushed Skype heavily back onto the masses.
But Zoom came along and Zoom ate it up, especially during the pandemic. It was either Skype or Zoom, and
Well, I mean,
Zoom is
if
where
you
it
look at
won.
it, right, look at it from an education standpoint. Zoom had a little tiny bit of a foothold on the education market, and then when the need came, they flipped on a switch and said, "Here's 5,000 new servers, go."
Hmm.
And they were able to take on as much capacity as possible very quickly. And I mean, education was the number one driver for content online during the pandemic. So that's where Zoom kind of got its luck and draw from.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We got a couple of listener questions as well. You could drop yours to us, techguys@techtalkradio.com. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Shawn DeWeird.
And I'm Justin Lemmy. Find us on X at Tech Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
Let's do a listener question.
All right.
So
Listener question
I
time.
drew the short straw. I get today's. I am hoping you can help me.
Okay.
I use my PC laptop a lot for everything. I've run out of slots. I have
Oh,
2 USB slots and I added a camera and a backup drive. I need more. What's
wow.
the best way to add these ports? What do I need to get? Valerie from Palms Desert.
I just
Desert. All right.
I
Thank
would
you,
just get
Valerie.
a powered USB hub.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of them on the market. Belkin has them. Easy Connect. They work a lot. Easy Connect, I think, works a lot with Mac, but Belkin, just a little hub. I mean, trying to remember the name of the little one I
He's
got.
leaving a little bit out here, right? Because
Right.
is it a Mac?
Well, she
B,
said
a
she said
PC.
PC laptop,
Yeah.
right?
That's true. She did say PC
Yeah.
laptop. You're right. I did not read.
Right.
I did not do a very good job of reading the question.
I mean, how many ports do you think somebody should have? I mean, I've always told people if you're going to buy a laptop, buy one with at least 3 USB ports and 1 HDMI port.
Yeah, I would say 3 to 4. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, because the budget laptops you're going to find have 1 to 2 USB ports, and you're going to run out quick. One thing is if you're using a USB mouse, like say you use a mouse instead of using that trackpad, which I don't know anybody that would want to use the trackpad. But say you get a USB mouse, well, that's going to take up a slot, right? Because you got to plug the transmitter key in there. If your laptop supports it, get a Bluetooth mouse. That will free up another USB port, because if you're already broadcasting a Bluetooth signal, you could connect your mouse to that, and it's great because it'll give you an extra port. And if you want to use a camera and a backup drive, though, then you're gonna need some kind of a hub.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, one USB output to a hub will generate 3 to 4 more based on the peripheral you buy, right? If you're buying one that can do multiple things, like
Mhm.
USB to Ethernet and USB, or USB to Ethernet and DisplayPort, or something like along
Or
those lines.
USB-C, even. Yeah.
Or
It's like a
USB-C.
multifunction hub. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
I
right.
So
mean, I've got one that will do, I think, what is it? It has an SD card slot, has an Ethernet port, uh, three or
Wow.
four USB ports, and it all operates off of just a single USB, and it doesn't even need to be powered. It's not a powered hub. So stuff like that you can find on Amazon for, 15, 20, $30 at the most. But like a multifunction one. I really like mine, the one I have, because it does have that SD card slot. So if I want to
Yep.
put my camera, if I want to put the SD card in, I don't have to disconnect the camera. I can just take the SD card out, put it into the hub, and connect it to my laptop. Bam, I got all my pictures.
I've got one that looks like a pistol grip. And you could put all your SD cards in there, right? Inside this device, slides out. It has a carabiner on there, so you can, attach it to your laptop bag and the whole bit. And then when you need to read an SD card onto your laptop, or you need one for your phone, or maybe you've got a regular phone or a camera, I should say, and you're walking around, you can just pull that out and plug it in. It plugs into USB-C. I love that thing, and I think I bought it for like $40 on Amazon. And I
Not too
wish I could
bad.
remember the name of the manufacturer. I'll put a link up on our blog, but that one's pretty good. Belkin, you can never go wrong with. There's usually all kinds of products that they offer. Logitech also has hubs as well, so you could do stuff with a Logitech device. If you're going to go with the name brands, but there are some third party brands out there that will work pretty good. So
I
that'll.
like what's the one I use a lot? Well, Anker. Anker makes a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
like
Anker.
batteries and stuff.
Anker's good though. Yeah.
Yeah, but they also do make some.
ICANN is one that I like. IKAN is one that makes a lot of dongles that I like.
Hmm.
Belkin is known for theirs.
Yeah.
There's tons. You can do a good search and just read
Yeah.
the reviews. And
How much Valerie's going to spend could be anywhere from what,
Mm,
15 to.
15 to $20
All
yeah,
if
right.
you're looking
maybe
on
at
the
the
low
most.
end.
And if you're listening and you're thinking, well, I've had great experience with my hub, feel free to drop us a line so we can
Hmm.
share that on another show. It's Tech Guys at techtalkradio.com. Man, I'll be honest with you. I had like a crazy week when it came to backing up and data. So I have a drive. It was a Seagate desktop hub, and I think I may have mentioned this at the end of our show a couple weeks ago. And it started making a weird sound, and it would power on, power off. And I reached out to Five Star. They're great data recovery company in Glendale, and when they got back to me, they told me, okay, it could be this. Don't fire it up anymore. If it's making a sound, don't just, you got to send it in. So I got to save up my nickels and dimes. But in the meantime, I needed to find some data that was on this drive. I had moved everything from a Western Digital to the Seagate, and of course, that Western Digital was kind of acting up, and so it was a matter of, okay, how am I going to get this data? And wouldn't you know, the Western Digital that I had originally moved it from, I had pulled out of an enclosure and was sitting in a pile of drives. And I
Hmm.
found that drive, but I had deleted the data off of that. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I had a program years ago called Recover My Data from, I think it was Get Data, an Australian company. And suddenly their licensing isn't working anymore. They've had I think it's a Windows 11 problem. So I found this software called EaseUS, and
Oh
that's
yeah, I've used that.
EASEUS. They make a partition manager, which can help you partition your drives out. They make data recovery software. So I thought, well, let's run this data recovery software. So I run the software. It goes through. It looks for deleted files of type. So you can do video, photos, documents, or a complete. Here's what we found that had been deleted that we're able to see. And then I was able to do a recovery, and I got probably 80% of my files back just by running that software. It took
That's
almost,
good. 80% is not bad.
took almost 2 days, but I got it back, and I stored it on a drive. So I want to remind everybody, be redundant, store on more than one backup device. Don't trust it. Just because you got a backup doesn't mean you're safe, because if that backup goes, you're still, up the paddle. Uh,
Yep.
You could do cloud storage as well, but it was a lot. That's a lot of space. Terabytes. We had 4 terabytes saved. I probably still will go to 5 star, and I'll spend the 700 or 800 bucks for them to do the data recovery if they can, and we'll see what they come up with. But yeah, that's never
EaseUS is
fun.
actually a really good. I mean, I've used a lot of their stuff before in the past.
It was
Definitely like it.
surprisingly easy to run, and it was quicker than Recover My Data. Kingston and SanDisk, they have products like that. SanDisk has their new desktop drive, which I absolutely love, and they have software that comes with it. So you can run that software, especially on their extreme drives, and that's a data recovery software as well. I found that the EaseUS worked a little better in this case for me to be able to do the recovery. But if you ever run into that, take a look at EaseUS. I think you'd be pleased. Now I have to run. I have to run a software because I did a 500 gigabyte to a 1 terabyte. So I have to
Mhm.
run the partition magic software so I can
Oh yeah.
partition and get the rest of the space back.
Mm.
But yeah, man, that kind of stuff
Not
happens.
bad.
Yeah, but that's I don't know. All right, we were talking about games earlier too, Justin, and you were talking about a game that you've gotten back into, and I wanted you to tell our listeners about it. It involves zombies.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a game. It's on Steam. It's a PC game. It came back out. It came out like I think it was like November of 2013. I mean, so it's a decently old game, and the visual style of it looks a lot like the original Sims, where it's kind of like this
Yeah.
three-quarter top-down view, where you're kind of looking at it from the side, and the artwork, the style of it looks a lot like the original Sims video game. But um, yeah, it's basically a game where you are a random person who has survived a zombie apocalypse, and now you've just got to see how long you can survive in the game. And the best part about it is when you go into the game, it tells you straight up, there is no beating this game. You will die. Like you will die
Really?
in this game. This is the story of how you died. That's exactly what it says. This is the
Okay.
story of how you died.
Great.
But it's basically it's your character. You're running around from building to building. They're all obviously abandoned. You know, some are zombie infested, some aren't. But you're just simply trying to gather up supplies like food and bandages and gasoline for your vehicle or construction stuff so you can build up defenses, and then you kind of set up your little base and you try to just fend off the horde of zombies as long as you possibly can until you eventually will succumb to the zombies.
What's the name of this one again?
Project Zomboid.
Zomboid.
Yeah,
And
Zomboid.
Zomboid. Yeah, Project Zomboid. Again, it's an old game. The reason I'm getting back into it though is because they just came out. The developer, it's an indie developer. I mean, it's this very small team of people that are working on this game, but they came out with a new build. They call it Build 42. It's just like version 42 of the game,
right.
and it's made a lot of changes. They've really listened to the community over the past few years. I want to say this particular Build 42 is like 5 years in the making.
Wow.
And so it changed a lot of stuff. And the game is also very, very friendly to modders. So people can go in and create their own mods for the game, like better inventory management or maybe a texture update pack or something like that. But it is a really cool game. And what I also like about it is when your character inevitably dies to the
Right.
zombies, you
Right.
can still continue playing in that world with a fresh character. So if you happen to remember where all of your loot from your previous character was stored, you can take your new character and run to that location and bam, now you've just got all this loot. And so
Oh,
you
that's
can just kind
awesome.
of keep building upon what your, zombie apocalypse survivor ancestors have built for you and left for you. Which is
Which
actually
pla- which,
really, really cool.
which platform are you playing it on?
It's on PC. It's on Steam.
On Steam?
And I
Yeah.
want to say it's probably I think it's like $20, maybe $30. I don't remember exactly. Actually, yeah, $20, $20
Somebody
to
asked
buy the game.
asked me the other day because there was a story this week that Netflix is going to raise its price again.
Uh huh.
We're seeing more and more of the streamers saying, we got to compete. we're paying more money for the content that we're putting out there for you. If that's the case, they asked me, has Steam increased in price or value in the last couple of years? That to the point where it's like also we're going to see that eventually happening.
I don't think so. I mean, Steam has always been
Oh, it's
Steam.
always been reachable, hasn't it?
Yeah, they've never really raised their prices, and in fact, I mean, Steam is very well known for having,
Steam
quarterly,
sales.
quarterly Steam sales. You got the winter sale, you've got the summer sale, and then you've got the smaller spring and fall sales. But I think the community sets the price for Steam because Steam is very reliant upon its users, and they will not pay a certain amount of money. So like the community really sets the tone. If the community says, yeah, this game's worth $20, well, that's what it's going to be, $20.
Right. What do you think is more value? Game Plus, Microsoft
Game Pass?
Game Pass, or Steam?
Well,
Because
it's hard to say.
yeah,
It's hard to say because
They're
Steam
different products.
Right. Steam is a PC Mac only. It's not
Right.
console. Well, they have their own handheld console, Steam Deck, but
Sure.
but
also
Game
you
Pass
don't
is-
get anything with Steam. Like you can download Steam for free and have Steam. You don't get anything with it.
Right.
You have to buy those games. Whereas Game Pass, like Shawn was about to say, I'm sorry, Shawn, go ahead.
No, you're good. Like Game Pass it includes a subscription to a library of content that Microsoft just says, here's what you get with your subscription.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
they can, like any other subscription on the internet, they can yank stuff out at a moment's notice and say, nah, you don't get Forza 5 anymore. You get
Right.
a different version.
Now, that is true, though, with the rising in prices because Xbox Game Pass did raise their prices.
Yep.
And so that's why I was it last, I want to say it's last October, September, October. There was a flash sale on Woot, which is like an Amazon subsidiary.
Yeah.
And I bought 3 years of Game Pass Ultimate for not only myself, but also for Eric. So I dropped I
wow.
think it was like $550.
Right.
But now we have Xbox Game Pass paid up for the both of us until like 2027 or something like that.
So if they did any price increases, you're safe. You're good.
Wouldn't affect me, yeah, because we've already paid for our subscription. But yeah, so like Xbox Game Pass, they will potentially raise the prices on it. But Steam, the prices are unique to the game. I mean, some games are $1.99, some games are free to play, some games are $59.99.
All right. We got to take another quick break. We come back. We're going to find out what you did for your birthday, which that just sounds like it was an absolute blast. With more of Tech Talk Radio, I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Shawn DeWeird.
And I'm Justin Lemmy. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Tech Talkers. We'll be right back.
So over this past weekend, I was able to get some time off, and I went up to my in-laws, and they were like, "Help! Help! Help! We have an ancient laptop,
Oh,
and they need it's that they got freaked out when it popped up and said, coming soon in October, Windows 10 is no longer going to be supported," and they dropped some bricks in their pants, right? They're like, "Oh no, the world's ending. We need," like they were freaking out because they went to Best Buy, and they're like they were being told, like, you have to buy a new computer right now. You're not going to have support. And I was like, don't do that. Don't go to Best Buy and tell them.
Yeah.
So I sat with my father-in-law, and we looked at a price range that they wanted, and we came up with a plan. And I texted you guys yesterday, and Matt got back to me and kind of gave me some ideas. And I ended up getting them a Lenovo ThinkPad.
I love Lenovo's. They're good. He was originally mentioning Surface, and I know, Justin, you've had experience with the Surface too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the Surface, though, I was a little bit surprised at Matt's, to mention the Surface because the Surface is way more expensive than $500 to $800.
Right. That's what I've seen. You can get some in that price range, but they're pretty weak.
Yeah.
And they're older generations. But, we ended up looking at, okay, what did they want, right? What specs did they want? Well, they wanted something that they're not going to have to buy another computer, right? They want something that's going to last 4 to 5 years, 5 to 6 years. Right? They're going to have to buy another computer down the road anyways. But
I mean, for that price range, $500 to $800, and they want it to last 5 years. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. So we ended up getting the ThinkPad T16 Generation 2, which runs an i7 13th Gen, 16 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte solid state, built chipset graphics, Windows 11 Pro, with Wi-Fi 6 and a 16-inch display. So
Wow.
That's not too bad.
It's gonna be right in their wheelhouse. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, I showed them the layout because the ThinkPad has a very unique design where the buttons are on the top of the trackpad and you can use the little red dot in the middle and use your thumb and stuff. But they're primarily a Bluetooth mouse user. So it's mostly going to sit on there. They're more often than not going to type on it or not going to use the onboard mouse and use the wireless mouse. So I think this is going to be okay. It's a slimmer profile than their older computer. It's less bulky. I think it'll travel easier if they want to travel.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Lenovo ThinkStations at work. I've used them in the past. They're built well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Lenovo's
anticipate
Lenovo. Yeah.
I anticipate that they'll have good success with it, right? I'm nervous that they're gonna get it and they're gonna be like, "This sucks. Why did you recommend this?"
Now,
Because
are they? Did you make sure it's not Windows S, right? It's not Windows
yeah.
it is Microsoft Windows 11 Pro. I
Okay,
specifically
good.
filtered out so it's not some BS version of Windows that they're not going to be familiar with.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right? And they definitely said no Macs. Like they don't want to learn the Apple environment. And so I think they're going to be
like it. Yeah.
I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be just blown away at how fast it is.
Yeah.
Because they're running an HP from I think like 2011 or 2012.
Are you going to do a data transfer from their old system into the new one?
Well, that's I was going to bring that up, right? Because what do we do for that? Do we just buy a portable hard drive and move files over? Or do we do a disk clone and move it up? But then you have to do the whole upgrade. Then you're upgrading the original OS to Windows 11 Pro. I don't want to do that. I want to do a clean Windows 11 install for them.
Well, PC Mover is a pretty good program for moving programs. And it will do programs and keep the newer OS. It can be a little pricey, but I've used that before. I used that actually going on to a Windows, at the time, it was a Windows 10 system, and we came from Windows XP. And they had certain programs that were licensed that it was for a print shop that they needed to keep using, but they could use it under the Windows 10, OS. But the problem is getting them to install it. We were able to move that over using PC Mover, and they were able to use it. So it worked out. It worked out really good.
Nice.
That's that's one of the ways.
Yeah, I don't think they have enough to warrant not reinstalling things new fresh, right? I don't think they're they don't do their taxes on their computer. They don't have QuickBooks. They don't own a business. They don't do any of that stuff. They mostly are just going to want photos, music, images, documents, important those types of things. So
if that's the case, then we just do it onto a drive, and it's good. Get them a drive and get them as a backup, so they'll be used to backing up.
Well, that's what I told him. I was like, look, and he was like, my father-in-law has always been very security conscious. Like, oh, he's always going to have an antivirus. But I was like, he's trying to. He's like, I got to download Viper. I got to get Norton. I got to get. I was like, no, you can do it with just Windows Defender and Malwarebytes, dude. You can just those two programs. You are going to be fine.
Right.
So just try to keep the bloat down on their PC. Right. I didn't want to go with an HP or a Dell because I just know those things come with their own built-in bloatware. And Lenovo has a little bit of their own also, but not nearly as bad as HP or Dell. And I just
it's got to be hard because like I have a situation where I was just given a laptop to repair. The problem is that their screen went out. It's a Dell, an older machine. It was when it came out, it was 2016, and it was Windows 10, or no, Windows 7, and they were able to upgrade it to 10, but now the screen has gone out. So first thing I checked is make sure, can we run an extended screen? So they had an HDMI port on it, and yes, there is a screen. So I know it's just in the screen panel itself. And I told her, I said, at this point, we could do the repair on it, and it's going to be about $130, and that's with a discount on labor, and that's the piece to repair it. But the problem you're running into is it's running Windows 10. In October, that's when Windows 10 and earlier OS is not going to be supported. I would probably, think, and she said the one reason she is sticking with this is because it has a DVD drive. And I said to her, I said, well, you could buy an external DVD drive that will plug into, say you get a new computer, you spend 400 or 500 bucks on it, and you could plug a DVD drive in there. They don't come with DVD drives anymore, but she said she didn't want to go that route. She wanted to have it as a piece of the hardware. So that's the crazy thing is she's replacing the screen on it because of that. And that's how people are. And I don't know, Shawn, if you ran into that when you were telling your parents about, okay, maybe get this, get this, get that. They want to stay with what they're familiar with.
I mean, I could see that a little bit, but I feel like the older generation's getting a little bit better about not holding on to comfort
Yeah.
and getting out of their shell a little bit technology wise. I didn't really run into that. I know that he's adopted the no physical media aspect of like
Yeah.
they didn't have a lot of DVDs to begin with. It's not something he asked like, oh, we watch a lot of DVDs on our computer. But can you even get a laptop with a DVD drive in it anymore?
I don't
Hardly
think you
ever.
can. No.
No. They're
LG
all
make,
like external now.
yeah, they make
Yeah,
that external. It's only like 30 bucks. But why? I mean, let's ask the question for anybody wondering, why don't they come with the DVD drives anymore?
space. You know how much a DVD? You know what space a DVD drive takes up on a mother like that could be used for cooling or storage or
Yeah.
Battery?
a video card, memory, anything.
Yeah.
You want a smaller, thinner laptop? Get the DVD drive out of there. That yanked out. I mean, that makes it. A DVD drive is almost an inch thick in general by itself,
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
and it's 4.5 inches, but the size of a DVD plus some. Like it takes up a ton of space. So, and to be honest, right? So I'm gonna give you a fun stat here. The university is going wireless first, meaning they're taking all of the hard-lined phones out of the university, right? So I'm going an
Yeah.
analog technology around here, right? How many times do you think the average user at the university picked up their hardline phone in a 6 month period?
Oh, well,
30
times a day?
times.
Yeah.
Twice.
Wait,
The average across campus for all of the hardline phones for a 6 month period was twice.
that's
Yeah.
it. Wow. Wow.
So,
Well, a lot of businesses don't-
when was the last time you put in a DVD? Ask yourself that as a serious question. If you're looking to get a DVD player in your computer, when was the last time you put a DVD in?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's true. That's true.
I mean, even my desktop computer here does not have a DVD drive anymore or a Blu-ray drive or anything.
My main rig doesn't. I have a computer dedicated to ripping DVDs.
I mean, I've
that's
got an
got-
external. I've got an
Yeah,
external
got the
USB
external as
drive.
well. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but I can't. I think ripping a DVD for a friend of one he made in high school was the last time I put a DVD in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Makes sense.
it makes good sense too. All right, listen, we got to take another quick break. We come back. We do have another question. I've got a great website for you to check out too. If you need to put a smile on your face, we'll do that with more of Tech Talk Radio. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Shawn DeWeird.
And I'm Justin Lemmy. Find us on the web at techtalkradio.com. We'll be right back.
So we kind of went a little retro today, talking about some things that were cool at one point, some of the older games that were out there. You got an older computer. How do you update it? How do you move from an old computer into a brand new one with Shawn's parents? There is a push right now for camera technology. And I don't know if you heard about this, Shawn, but, we have DSLRs, we have mirrorless. Justin, you have a great camera. You took some great shots. For your birthday, you did like a whole indoor thing. Tell us about this real quick.
Yeah, no, I was yesterday was my birthday, and we went indoor skydiving. It was just something. I mean, I've been skydiving for real before. I skydived over Oahu back in I want to say it was 2010, 2011, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, no, this was the first time doing it indoor, and I took Eric with me. It was obviously Misa came as well, but she didn't want to do it. But Eric and I, we had a 10 jump package. Each jump lasts like about a minute 15.
Right.
And there was some other people that went with us too, that I don't know who they were, but they were just in line doing it. But yeah, it was really cool. You kind of you go into this little chamber, and it's blowing air at around 100 miles an hour, and it just lifts you off the ground, and you can just sit there and float and literally just fly. And it was really, really cool. Eric absolutely loved it. It was so funny because I thought he was going to chicken out. He was the first one to go. He was like, nope, I'm going. And he just jumps right into it and just like starts flying.
How
And
would
I just thought it was
he,
so
if he
cool.
said, "Dad, I want to do a real jump"? Would you go? I mean,
Absolutely not. No, no. Well, first off, he couldn't even do a real jump if he wanted. You
yeah,
have to be a certain age to do that. But the indoor was great. We had a lot of fun.
cool.
It really honestly did feel like it. It was a company called iFly. I mean, they're nationwide. They have them all over around the
They have
country.
one in Vegas.
Yeah,
I
they've got one in Vegas.
done
They've
that
got
one year.
two in Colorado. They've got I don't know. They're all over the place. But it was expensive. It really was. For 10 jumps, it was like $500.
Whoa! Wow!
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow!
10 minutes of flying, 10 minutes of flying, really, for $500.
Man, but it's still something you experience, and that's what's great. You know, you have camera, you take pictures, the whole bit. But
Yeah.
Shawn, there's a story about the idea now of the small cameras, like the old Canons, the old Pentax cameras, making a resurgence, just with a basic
Oh,
point
yeah.
and shoot camera. And I'm not talking about the Camp Snap, which we thought was kind of cool. These are digital cameras that are coming back, and you're excited about this.
Oh, dude. Okay. I love this, right? Because I've always, I will say, one of my biggest mentors always told me the best camera you have is the camera in your hand, right? Okay. Could be your phone, could be your DSLR, could be anything. But the fact that people are detaching the idea of taking photos from your phone
Hmm.
is this is the key part of it, right? Because you are now more physically engaged with taking the picture.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, it's not on your phone. It's not
Hmm.
attached to your phone. You're framing it up. You're taking the picture. It's living on the camera. You're touching it. You're feeling it. You're then having to thoughtful, being thoughtful about it, taking the memory card out, putting it in. You're attaching more synapses to this picture, which is the whole point of art. And we've talked. I've been big on this for the longest time. There's going to be not even necessarily an analog revolution, but a digital, semi non-internet connected digital revolution of
Yep.
people wanting to be more connected to their photos.
Yep.
Well,
Because that, for one, it's nostalgic, right? It's therapeutic, it's art, you get to be creative, and you get to be a part of that process. And I don't know, I got really excited about it because that is something I've spoken a lot about. Is That's why I love doing photography. That's why I like shooting film, because there's something about it,
right.
grabbing onto the film, grabbing onto the picture, going over to my poster board where I've got pictures of my family on it and reaching up and looking at it and going, oh yeah, that memory, or that, that Polaroid or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
what it's all about. And that's
Yep.
something that like the current generation knows nothing about.
Hmm.
With that thought, one of the images that is the overall winner of the year of this year's Nikon's Comedy Wildlife Award. They do this every year. You can see the picture at comedywildlifephoto.com. Is a squirrel stuck in a tree. And it is quite the picture. There's also one of my favorite is a monkey that it's deep in thought. But go to comedywildlifephoto.com. You can see all the photos there and put a smile on your face. Some great thoughts, though, on digital photography. That wraps up this week's Tech Talk Radio. I'm Andy Taylor.
I'm Shawn DeWeerd. One more thing, DJI has a new drone. We'll talk about it next week.
Oh, yes.
I'm Shawn DeWeerd.
And I'm Justin Lemmy. Have yourselves a great week. We'll see you next time.